Hello everyone, how are you all? I hope you all are fine. Welcome to our EVS class. Today we are going to study session number 2 of EVS 2. Okay students, so in today's session we will be studying something new. Alright, so my dear children, do you remember what have we studied in the previous session? Yes. Let us recall some things that we have studied in our previous session. So, in previous session we have studied that what is family history. Now, do you remember what is family history? Yes, family history is the story about our family which has happened in the past. It is the story about a family that has happened in the past. Okay. Now, we have also studied the meaning of past. So, what is past? Past means the things or the events or the actions that have already happened or that have already completed before now. Understood students? So, that is about the past. We have also studied the meaning of history. So, what is history? History is the study about the past. Alright students, history is the study about the past. And we have also studied about the timeline. What is the timeline? Timeline is the drawing that shows the order of events. Means when the events have happened, it shows the order of that events. Means what has happened first, what has happened next, what has happened then, later, finally. Okay. So, it shows the order of events. Understood? So, we have studied these things in our previous session. And we have also studied the sources of history. 3 sources of history, right? Oral sources, written sources and archaeological sources. These 3 sources are the sources of history. Understood students? Now, in today's session, we are going to study the need to study history. What are we going to study? The need to study history, and we will also study the ways of learning about family history. Alright students, now what is the need to learn history? When history itself means that it is the study about past. Now we all are living in present, we are looking forward towards our future, right? Then why is it important to learn history? Yes students, is it even necessary to learn about the past? The things that have already happened, the actions or the events that are already done, is it important to learn about it? Yes students? Yeah, it is very important. It is very important. It is necessary to learn about the history. Do you know why? Why do we have to learn about the history? Because we come to know about the different kinds of things or the different researches made by the people at that time. Understood? And we gain knowledge from that things. Here I have written some reasons to study history. Okay? So let us read it one by one. So first is, we learn history to understand the stories of people in different situations. Now, whenever we have to understand the stories of people, now different situations are faced by different people, right? Some people face bad situations, some people face good situations, right? So, whatever situations are faced by that people, okay, all have their different stories. So, we come to know about different stories of the people in different situations. Understood? Now, we study about different leaders of India like Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, Jhansi ki Rani, Lakshmi Bai, right? We also studied about Adolf Hitler. We studied about Mahatma Gandhi ji, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Now these are some famous peoples, right? And why and how do we come to know about them? Yes, we come to know about them when we study about the history, right? And by learning about these things, we come to know how these people have handled the situations at that time, right students? How they have overcome their fear and how they have contributed towards their nation, right? So we come to know about such things when we learn about the history. Understood? When we learn about the stories of people who have faced different situations, different incidents, right? So then this is the reason we are studying history. Now let us see the next reason. To know why events happened in the past. Now do you know students, some events happen accidentally, right? Some events happen naturally, and some events are happening due to some mistakes. Understood? Now my dear children, I hope that you have seen the movie Mohenjo-Daro, right? Now in that movie, what is it shown? That the people have stored water of river. They have built a dam on it, right? And that dam means the water was stored for so many years, right? And so what happened? After some years, the dam was broken, right? And so the village was flooded. Entire Mohenjo-Daro went underwater. Do you remember about this story? Yes? If you have not seen, you can study about it. Okay? Now, this was the mistake done by the people. So we study about it. So whenever in future, if someone is building a dam, they will come to know how to maintain it, how to make it strong, and which materials to use, and what should we do so that it won't be flooded. Understood, students? So these are the things that we come to know when we learn about the events that have happened in the past. Now why it had happened? That we know. Now sometimes due to natural calamities, some things happen. So when we learn it through the history, what can we do? We can take precautions in the present. We can take precautions in the present, and it will help us in the future, right? Right, students? So this is the reason we have to learn why events happened in the past. Understood? Now next, to help us understand changes in the world. Okay? Now if we want to know the changes in the world, the changes that have happened in the world, we learn history or we study history. Why? Now do you know, students, in the ancient times there were no phones, no mobile phones, no television, no internet, but still people were spending their time, and they were spending their quality time even though they were not having phones, internet, television, right? Now how they were doing this, and what were they doing when they have to contact each other? Yes, they used to also send the messages. Do you know how? Not through the mobile phone. They used to send messages with the help of pigeons, okay, with the help of birds. Understood? So they used to send messages. They used to write a letter, give it to a pigeon, and that pigeon used to give the letter to the person whom we have to send the letter. Understood? And they were also taking the help of people. They were giving the letters to people, and that person used to distribute the letter, right? So that person is known as a postman. You might have also seen him. Nowadays also we are taking the help of postmen and couriers to deliver the things. Understood, students? So these things were happening in the past. Understood? So when we learnt about the past, now it was taking too much of time, right? To write a letter, then deliver to the person, and we cannot directly contact the person we want to, right? So then what scientists did? They studied about it and they invented the technology that connects the people. Understood, students? Now this is the reason why we learn history. Understood? And it helps us to understand the changes in the world. See, in ancient times, how the technology means there was no technology, and today everyone has become techno savior, right? So this is about the reasons to study history. There is one more reason. What is it? To help us become better citizens. Now when we study about the history, we learn about the people that have or that were the good citizens of our nation, right? That's the reason we learn history. Now we learn about some laws that have written in the past, right? Laws that have been written in the past and which are followed by different peoples. Different peoples have written different kinds of poetries, different kinds of stories, which gives us very nice messages. Do you know, students, in your assembly we listen to Manache Shlok, Pasayadan, right? Now these were written back many years back, okay? But still we study a lot of things from it. We learn how to behave, how to be polite, how to be kind to others, what things we should concentrate on, what things we should not concentrate on, right? These things are learned when we study about the past, about the history, right? So these things help us to become better citizens. Now some laws are also written by our constitution. That laws were written in the past, right? So when we follow that rules, when we follow that rules, we automatically become a better citizen. Understood, students? Now these were the reasons to study history. Do you know, students, there are some people who study history or who do the research about the history. Now the people like doctors, the journalists, architect, do you know why these people study history? Yes, a doctor studies history to learn about the diseases, to know about the diseases and what is the cause and cure of the disease. Understood? Now in the ancient times there was no technology, but with the help of Ayurveda. Yes, you might have heard the term Ayurveda, means all the Ayurvedic things that we get from nature. Understood, students? And it is very good for us. So the doctors learn the things about the diseases. Now the diseases that have happened in the past, that helps us to cure the diseases or to know about the diseases more. Means how they have cured the diseases, why the diseases were caused. Now disease means a type of illness, okay? Now why that disease was caused, what was the reason, then how to cure that disease, how do the doctors come to know about it? They learn about the ancient doctors. Now in ancient time, as I told, there was no technology, right? There were no factories who was making the medicines and all, but still people used to be treated. How? With the help of Ayurveda. Understood? So the doctors used to take the useful things from plants and all. They used to make the medicines and they used to give it to the patients, and then they cured the patients. Understood, students? So the doctors which we can see nowadays, they also take the help of that about that study. They also take the help to cure the diseases. Understood, students? It helps them to learn more about a particular disease and the way to cure it. Now, why does a journalist study history? Yes, a journalist. Now, do you know who is a journalist? A journalist is a person who learns about the past, about the present things and reports live, sometimes on a news channel and sometimes through magazines and all. Understood? So, a journalist is a person who gives information or reports us about what things are happening. So, why does the journalist studies about the past? What is the reason? Now, if he wants to say about the news, right, he will study about the present, right, I mean whatever things are going on, he will tell about it. No, but he also studies about the history. Do you know why? So that he will come to know about the things that have happened in the past, how people have sorted that things, right, and then how they have handle the particular situations. Okay, these things are known by a journalist when he or she studies about history. Understood, students? Now, do you know why does an architect studies history? An architect study history because he comes to know about the materials that are being used to build the things, right? What type of materials are used, which is the strong material, which is the weak material, right? These things are known by an architect. Understood? So, these are the things why these people study history. Now, students, here I have written sources of history. Now, what are the sources of history and what can we learn from them? Now, oral sources. Now, what are the oral sources? I have already told you. Oral sources are the stories or the poems that we hear, right, or that have been written by someone. So, oral sources, through oral sources we learn languages spoken, everyday activities and festivals. Now, when we hear about the oral sources, now there are different kinds of languages. So, when we hear it, we come to know different languages. Now, what were the festivals, how people were celebrating in the past, how people are celebrating it in the present, right? So, this difference also we come to know by learning history through oral sources. You might have heard from your grandmother or grandfather how they were celebrating the festivals like Diwali, Holi, and how we are celebrating the festivals now. Understood? Now, next, written sources. Now, written sources include means we can learn laws, famous people and places. Now, written sources include letters, travel writing, and you can say some sort of stories, articles. Okay, these are the written sources. And what can we learn from that? We can learn laws. Now, the laws that are written by our constitution, we can learn it from the written sources. Not only laws that are written by the constitution, there are different types of laws that are mentioned in your science, right? So, that laws also we come to know by the written sources. We also come to know about famous people. Now, just before some time I have mentioned about some famous people. So, they have someone has written on them, and when we read that, we come to know about it. So, we come to know about famous people and places. How do we know how do we come to know about places? By reading the travel stories and all. Understood? Now, next is archaeological sources. Now, what do we learn from archaeological sources? We learn commonly used objects, materials used to make things. Now, whenever we have to make different types of things like furniture, then we come to know about by learning about archaeological sources that which type of material should be used to make furniture, or which type of material or which type of things should we use to build a building, right? So, these things can be learned from archaeological sources. Understood, students? So, this is about the sources of history. This is the reason why we have to learn history. Next, we will be studying the ways to learn about family history. Now whenever we have to learn about family history, how can we learn that? Yes, we can learn from oral sources and written sources, right? Now you can ask your parents, your grandfather, your grandmother to tell the stories, what they have done in their time. You can also learn through the written sources like letters and all that your family people, the elder people in your family might have written. Understood? You might also come to know by clothes, jewelries and different kinds of old stuffs. Understood, students? So these are the types, these are the sources through which you can come to know about your family history. So my dear students, I hope you have understood today's session. If you have any queries or any problem, you can contact me. Alright? Thank you so much.